Hey guys, welcome back to Woods Tree Farm. I'm Phil, and today I'm going to share with you just an observation about using the ground cover. This is our first time using the plastic ground cover in our flower patch, and I kind of discovered an unintended benefit of using ground cover I wanted to share with you. And like I said, just my observation. I don't know if this is to be expected in any planting situation, but it's just something that we observed. But before I get into that, let me give you kind of a quick little update on the flower patch here, and show you around, show you what we've got planted, show you what's coming up, and then I'll show you the ground cover. So I just got done planting another succession of sunflowers. These were all pro-cut sunflowers, and what I did was tilled these rows like I've done before with a 3-foot tiller behind the tractor. I spread some fertilizer directly on those rows and raked that fertilizer in. Then I marked off a couple rows with a hoe where I'm going to drop the seed, and then just manually drop the seed every 6 to 8 inches or so, or maybe 8 to 10 inches. I'm not super precise in how I drop it. I just want to make sure I don't have a bunch of flowers really close to each other. So I did that all up and down the row. Partway up the row, I did mark off a line across the row because part of this row is going to be the pro-cut lemon, and part of these rows are going to be pro-cut orange, and I want to make sure I have, blooms for each. So rather than doing full dedicated rows, once this fills in, we'll look like we have like a little block of orange and a little block of lemon with 6 planted rows of each for this succession. So as we look around the flower patch, it doesn't look like a whole lot yet, and actually it kind of looks a little bit messy because we've got some of our cover crop that wasn't completely killed off, that wasn't completely tilled in, is popping back up. So there's a little bit of buckwheat here in the middle of nowhere. There's a whole bunch of buckwheat over there, but we're gonna knock that down soon. There's gonna be some more sunflowers going on those fresh tilled rows right there, but we're gonna do that in a couple days. So how this is looking here, I've got 2 100+ foot rows of mammoths right here at the back of the patch. Most of the people are going to be coming in down that way, and they'll be kind of looking uphill. So kind of anchoring the back of the patch or the top of the patch with these mammoth sunflowers, which could get upwards of 8 or 10 feet tall. Next, we've got a mix of Autumn Beauty and Crazy Mix. We bought both of those seeds last year, and the flowers that we liked the most from last year, we ended up saving a bunch of seed, and we just mixed it all together. And that's what we planted down this row. So there's a bunch of different flower sizes coming up in there because it's quite a mix of different flowers. Some of those are going to end up being single stem, some of those are going to end up being branching, and they should be a whole bunch of different colors. So that'll look pretty cool in front of the mammoths. Next up here on the patch, we will have 2 tilled rows, which equals 4 rows because I plant 2 rows on each tilled section. 4 rows of pro-cuts, and we did a staggering mix over the last couple weeks here. We did a section of orange, a section of lemon, a section of orange, a section of lemon. So this should look pretty cool going down here as it starts to fill in with those alternating colors of flowers. Just downhill from those rows, we're actually going to have a large aisleway. This will be about 10 feet across, and what I'll do, just because it's full of weeds right now, in about another week or 2, I'll come through with the 6-foot tiller, and I'll just set its depth like really low, and we'll just kind of scrape the top inch or 2, break up all those weeds, and then just before our flower event, maybe 2 weeks before our flower event, we might come through and do that again if there's a lot of weed pressure again. We did this last year, it worked really well, and it ended up producing for us a really clean aisleway that was relatively weed free. So we're definitely going to try that again. As we walk back this way, we've got all of those, the fresh rows of sunflowers that I just planted. We've got a couple other rows of sunflowers that were planted last week. And then we get into our Zinnia and Cosmos rows, and we have planted these over the course of the last couple weeks. So we've got, basically these are 60-foot rows, and we split them in half. So up here close to me, we've got about 30 feet of Zinnias, and then we've got 30 feet of Cosmos across all of these rows. So this is all going to fill in really, really nice here, hopefully. And it kind of brings me to what I wanted to talk to you about in this video, which was the maybe unintended consequence of using the ground cover. So I shared with you on a previous video that we're using this for the first time, and I shared with you how we kind of set it all up, made a template out of wood, used a little propane torch, burned all those holes, and then it was kind of a tedious process to go hole by hole and drop a seed in every single hole. And actually what we've since come back through and done is anywhere where there was a seed that didn't germinate, or in some cases there was a seedling that maybe got scorched by the heat. You know, once it popped out its first inch or two, we had some 90+ degree days. I think that really toasted some of these, because we found a lot of little tiny dead seedlings that were just flopped over on top of the plastic. So we've had to come back through, drop some fresh seeds in just to make sure this fills in really nice. But that's what we're seeing here. And these 5 rows here were planted 2 weeks ago. And then the other 5 rows this direction were planted 4 weeks ago. Well, I got those sunflower seeds in the ground just in time this morning because a little rain shower coming through. That's perfect. So these are the first cosmos that we planted under cover, and you can see here these plants, there's different types of cosmos. This was a mix, so there's different heights in here. But this one here is tall. It's over 12 inches. The one right next to it is about 10, and you can see the foliage on there is, it looks healthy, it's deep green, it's branching out, it looks good. And just over there, you can see the Zinnia row, and it looks pretty similar. Everything's nice and tall and leafy and green. And by comparison though, the stuff that we planted in the bare ground is not nearly as healthy looking, even though it was put in the ground on the exact same day. It was given the same amount of fertilizer. So I don't know if that's just the ground cover that's helping that, or if that soil over there where it is not covered is a little bit different condition as well. It's a little bit heavier clay, where over here is a little bit sandier. So maybe the plants are just thriving better in this soil. Don't completely know what's causing it, but I think the ground cover is probably contributing to it a little bit. Well, let me know what you guys think about this. If you have experience with ground cover and you've had an observation like this before where the plants are growing better with a ground cover than they do on the bare ground, let me know. If this is repeatable, if this is to be expected, there's no reason that I wouldn't want to expand our ground cover in future years. We only did 2 rolls this year, partially because the rolls are kind of expensive and I didn't want to cover the entire patch in it, and I didn't want to make that investment this year. But the other reason was I just didn't really know how it was going to work out for us. So this 600 feet of cover that we have now, I think it is a great experiment for us, and definitely shows me that we want to do this again. Now the benefit of this is that this ground cover can be used for multiple years. So at the end of the season we're going to roll this up and we'll be able to use it again. So all of that prep work that we had to do with measuring out the segments and burning the holes and all that, we won't have to do again, obviously, for this first 600 feet of rows. We'll just have to do that for any additional ground cover that we get for future years. So on a future video, I'm going to share with you guys some updates on photographers and, kind of some of the pros and cons and lessons learned of offering our property as a photography venue. It's worked out pretty well is the short story, but I do want to share some of those details with you. And like I said, I'll do that in a future video. So if you don't already, hit the subscribe button, follow us on our future videos by subscribing. If you got questions or comments about what we did here, obviously leave those below this video, and hope you have a good one. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.